Yes, people, hello and welcome to another episode of CamBro Conversations, the business and fitness podcast. Today, I'm lucky to be joined by Alex Fit Cleland. Alex is a personal trainer, an online coach, and most of all, a brilliant content creator. Now, the reason we've got Alex on today is he has a fantastic story to share with us about that brave risk of quitting your day job in the fitness industry. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, mate. This is wicked. This is
in
cool.
Terms of an intro, then, is there anything else you'd want to add to tell us a bit more about your background then?
So at the moment I'm a PT in Manchester Urban Exchange, which is bang on, like literally city centre in Manchester. Big gym where I've sort of like progressed and now got probably comfortable in there. But where I came from was I'm originally from Guernsey, so small, obviously little island, and then came up to be fair, the reason I came up to Manchester was purely because I support Man United like big time. So when I was a kid and choosing my uni choices, I was like, I just want to be in Manchester.
Right.
So, or literally all my choice, I was like Salford, both Manchester unis, like literally all I cared for was being in Manchester, and then just fell in love with the place. So literally I've been here for 7 years now, just never left.
Yeah, brilliant. And what was it you came to uni to study? Because I know that forms a big part of the story of your business nowadays.
Yeah, so business management, and then I even took like a finance sort of diversion. So I actually graduated with like business management and finance, which I 100%, because it obviously where I am now, I wouldn't take anything away, but it's just mad because I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done like sports science or something, and I'm like, yeah, but if I'd have done that, I might not be where I am today. And the amount of things that I've taken from obviously doing business management to then running your own business is absolutely mega. And that was kind of my whole, even at school, it was like business, just very focused towards business. And that was just my whole sort of education through uni.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was the kind of career plan then? You said you did business, you did a finance element. What was the direction you were heading in as you got towards that kind of final third year at university? You were like, right, what am I going to do with myself? What's my life going to be like?
Very, very much like accountancy. And even from a young age, I don't know. Well, I know what it was, because so my dad owns a successful accounting business. My older sister, who's 7 years older than me, I think she must have already been a manager, I think, by the time I was sort of thinking about what I was going to do. And then my other sister was a nurse, so she was like but then my mum was a nurse. So I was like, they sort of followed my mum and dad's profession. And then it was me of like, okay, well, I'll be an accountant as well. And that's why I did business, and I was kind of on that journey. And even, as you said, in final year, it was midway through final year. So it was like the sort of December, January kind of time. And it was a case of, right, well, now I need to apply for uni. Now I need to apply for jobs. And it was like, right, okay. So I was applying for big accountancy firms. And it was literally one morning, I was just sat there replying, and I sort of had a word with myself, and I was like, is this really what you want to do for the rest of your life? And I was just like, no, I don't. And then that just then started, obviously, this whole journey that I then went on.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess unpacking a little bit of that, you've got that kind of career role model in your dad and your sister.
Yeah, exactly.
And accountant is by all means a really respected profession. It's one that pays well. So financially, you could have set up a really quite a secure life. There's a lot to it in terms of when you finish uni, you would have had to do all your chartered accountancy exams and whatnot. And it's a huge commitment in that respect. And I've got friends that are going through their exams at the moment, and it's very heavy. But I suppose you can see the end in sight in terms of like where you would want to get to with that. And you've got that kind of family history within it. But you've made that kind of difficult decision within yourself to say, I'm not that passionate about this. I'm not sure I want to do this.
No.
What happened then? Where did you go from there? So you're sat final year, you're going to still get a good degree, you're going to finish university in Manchester, but you decided I don't want to apply for a KPMG or a PwC?
So I was still, my problem, I think, where I was like, I just didn't necessarily want to do it, but I didn't really know what I wanted else to do. So I think I kind of still carried on applying for like bits and bobs and doing like aptitude tests, but I was still I was like, what am I doing? Where am I kind of going? And even like, so I used to back home work in the summer, and like when I was home at uni for an accountancy firm. So I was fully like, it wasn't like I just never even did it. And then Sarah, I was about to say my girlfriend at the time, still my girlfriend. We decided, let's go traveling. So we met at uni, and that was obviously, we hadn't probably even been going out that long before we were probably, I suppose, booking stuff on going on a half-year holiday.
Okay.
Which was, I suppose, but at the time we were like, oh, whatever, is what it is. And that then gave me an opportunity to sort of step away from things and then stop applying for jobs, because I was like, right, well, now I'm going to pretty much have a year out, have some time to think and kind of just make my mind up of what I wanted to do. So then I actually did go back home then to Guernsey for 7-8 months and worked for that accountancy firm that I was before, basically just to earn money for traveling.
Yeah.
And then what was then amazing for me was the exposure to like really just like, because I would do say 2 months at a time or go home for Christmas doing 3 weeks or whatever. And I never really got stuck in. Whereas I always had like, not necessarily clients that I was looking after, but it was more, I had more portfolios and I had more sort of things that were like my jobs that I was then giving to my manager. But there was never, I think that even made things worse, because I didn't then sit there and be like, this is actually wicked, I love this. It was more just, it was like, it just kept on going more and more downhill.
Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of people need to take on board. It wasn't as if you kind of spat the dummy out before you'd like tried it. You weren't just like, accountancy, nah mate. It was very much, listen, it's not like what I'm the most passionate about, but I'm going to get involved in it. And like, if my mind changes, I'm open to that. You knew you were always going to go traveling, but you could still come back and decided that that's what I want to do. The doors were still there for you. You'd got your qualifications. You hadn't dropped out of uni and whatnot. It's not like that.
My problem as well was the managers used to say like that I was good at it. Yeah. So then I would say to like my mum and my dad that I was good at it, and he's like, well, you have to do it. And I think because I'm quite I've got a little bit of OCD in terms of like tidiness, in terms of just like how things need to be. So I then have taken that onto my business, and that's why I think probably has helped me organization wise. So that was probably accountancy wise, you've got to be a bit like OCD with all these spreadsheets and all the ways. So that did help a lot. And I think, again, that was just more reason why my dad was like, oh, yeah, you should be doing it because it's a golden ticket as well for life. And yeah.
Yeah. And that's because he's lived it and he wants the best for you, and maybe he just wants that secure future. But ultimately, if it's not what you want to do, you would have so much regret. And I always say that if you're going to spend 40, 50, sometimes more than that hours a week doing something, it's got to be more than bearable. It's got to be something that fulfills you, because otherwise, how do you live with yourself when you're 40, 50 and you're maybe not as mobile, and you've done that for a long time, and you're ultimately look back and you think, I didn't really enjoy that, and for an extra few grand a year, was I that much happier? Which is mad. So this kind of period, you've gone back to work in Guernsey. You've saved a bit of money for going traveling. You're off traveling with Sarah. Firstly, where did you head off to, and what went on? What was the thought process during all that time?
It was just so we did like the classic sort of Asia route, and then again, I didn't think about anything. I was just having fun, especially in Asia. And then it was like, so we did also then Australia, New Zealand, but then America. But like Australia, New Zealand, they're just because of how much bus time you had just going up everywhere. What I did was I bought a little notepad, and I've still got it. And sometimes I'll still read it just to kind of like laugh to myself and be like, yeah, fair play, mate. And I wrote everything. So I would sit there on these hour bus journeys and write pros and cons of accountancy. I'd write pros and cons of what I wanted to do. and I'd just write every little idea that would pop into my head. And I remember when I then decided and sort of made that, you know what, because so actually I hadn't said that when I used to be at work, especially in that transition after uni, I would sit there all day being like, I can't wait to get to the gym. And I would literally write there and do my write what I was going to then train that day, and I would write like my program out, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do that workout. Like I was just and I was obsessed. Like I'd literally get home, I'd prep my food, I'd just be like bang bang bang. And it was more like I obviously I didn't know anywhere near as much as I do now, so I was very much just like I was a classic bodybuilding diet. Like it was just like I was prepping for a show, like just for this show that was never happening.
Yeah.
So I was obsessed. And then when I sort of made that decision, then when I was traveling, I was like, do what you love. And I was like, what do you love more than anything? And I was like, I want to work in fitness. I want to have a job in that. And I remember writing a list of kind of what I was then going to plan of attack to tell my mum and dad. So kind of like literally almost a script of like what the big points I needed to make to them to be like, no, believe in me, like back me, don't worry, like I've got a plan. So I just had everything in this notebook.
Brilliant. And that process probably gave you more confidence that you were going to go back and go into that.
If you'd write down goals and stuff on it, and I was like, yeah, that's going to happen. And like, that's what I mean. I'll go back and I'll look at it, and I'll have made the goal for like 3 years time, and I've already done it. And I'm like, that's sick. Like just
Amazing.
looking at it. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And it just shows that it was a thought through process though, because with the title of this podcast, some people are going to think, I might quit my day job. I might want to work in fitness.
Yeah.
But there was a lot to it, and you had options, and you had potential to go wherever you really wanted to go, but you thought the process through, and you had a genuine passion for fitness. Like you say, you were sitting at work and it was all you could think about, but it wasn't just, oh, it's all I can think about, I just love to train. You were thinking about what I'm eating, how am I training? And that's probably the characteristics of a good coach in some respects as well, because there's an element of planning there.
It's not like the gym I'm going to PT.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the big things I see with people that potentially want to pursue a career in PT just because they like the gym, one of the big factors missing is actual investment in getting people results as well, because you could be the most clued up person for your own training, but if you don't have a bit of a desire to get other people in shape, you're going to go nowhere.
No, exactly.
That's a huge thing. So you've come back from Asia, New Zealand, Australia, America. What happens now, Alex?
Literally, it was, and I remember the whole time. Well, not the whole time, but a lot of question whenever I'd face my mum and dad were like, "So what are you going to do when you're coming home? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to?" And I would literally constantly say to them, "I'm like, look, I'm going to speak to you when I get home. I've made a plan, and I'm going to tell you my plan." And it was literally, I got home. I'm not even that day. They sat me down and they were like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. And I remember telling them, "Right, well, I'm going to be PT. I'm going to do this. I'm going to grow my social media. I'm going to." Sort of just listed out everything I was wanting to do, and that I didn't like accountancy because X, Y, Z, and then I did love this idea because X, Y, Z. And it was then like I knew they were like, and they mum and dad said to me now that they were very worried. And I remember there was a big thing that they said, it was like, look, give it a year and then you see what happens. And I flat out said to them there and then, I was like, I trust me, in a year we won't be saying this. And I remember dad constantly saying like, you need a plan B, and I was like, no, I don't, because otherwise it's just going to distract me from where I'm my plan A. I was like, I don't need a backup plan because I'm never going to use it, so what's the point in wasting time and making one? And then it was a case of me being like, right, well, I need to prove them, like get them on board quick. So it was a case of, well, I need to get qualified. So I actually chose my qualification based on what provider was making me qualify the quickest. So I qualified in 5 weeks, which is what I think is nuts about the PT industry, and why there's so many people that are just useless coaches, because you're thrown on this like very, very, like anyone can do it. At the end of the day, it's not rocket science. And that's why you see people that you're like, you're an idiot. Or like, why are you there? Like, you should not be with people. You need to be like in a home, mate. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's the kind of level you're dealing with. And that's why that I think that's the big problem, is that even though I did it and went through a very quick system, I feel you should have to go through this mega extensive learning, and almost like the same course as say like nurse goes on, and that sort of exposure. And you should do like trials and shifts, and you should shadow people and all this, like everything that comes with it, instead of just like, okay, this is a body, this is a bone, this is your muscle, that's how you do a bicep curl, and see you later, mate.
Yeah.
And that's literally what it kind of is.
5 weeks is so quick, and
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's very few other professions where you could get the ability to go in and deal with people direct and give them solicited advice, and your qualification is based on a 5 week period, which is, I appreciate it would have been intense. I'm sure you were in like 9-5 whatever for 5 weeks or whatever in some exams, but yeah, it's an incredible short period of time. So you've got qualified. Did you have a job lined up, or did you where were you applying for? What were you looking at?
As well as that, so you do your level 2, which took me, I think it was 7 days of contact, and then I was level 2 qualified, which is then, so the difference between level 2 and level 3. Level 2 is you're just a fitness coach, so you can take classes and you can take people through inductions. Level 3 is then you're allowed to take someone actually on the gym floor and give them a customized program and take them through your own session. So level 2, as I said, took me sort of 7 days, and then level 3 took me, then it was like 4 weeks or whatever. And it was on like the final sort of week, I'd lined up a job where I was at this place called Colin's Hotel and Spa, which was in Knutsford, which is like, as I said, spa, and it was, I kind of lined that up, well, sort of lined up an interview at least, to then, when I was qualified, it was like the following week after qualifying. I don't even think he was in that. It was like qualified, day later, like, right, and that's, I think, even my dad still says that, he was like, he's not pissing about actually, because he was like, he sorted his exams. So I think I got home like first week of July or something like that, and then I was on my PT course on the 30th of July. So it was literally like bang, and then I was already in this gym by September. So because I was like, right, I need to do this as quick as possible, and then I was at this Colin's Hotel and Spa place.
What was that like then? I know that from us chatting offline and over the years that we've been connected on Instagram, that was a good learning experience from you. But what were the key things you learned? What did you have to balance it with? I know that you did some other roles where you were there as well.
Yeah, so it was a weird model as well. So there was a PT company who then paid the hotel, who then we paid the PT company. And the model when I first came in was paying like per session. So what it was good for was obviously someone trying to grow their business, because you weren't paying rent, you were paying if you had a client, and you were just paying a percentage of that, and then you had to just track your clients. And something, I won't go too into it because I don't want to slag anyone off, but like they were never really there. So I never really had a mentorship or someone to look up to when I was there. It was a case of, I was in a team of, there was 4 of us PTs, so it was very small. But it was a very, very small gym. So there was only about 800 members, and it was a lot of like older demographic, and a lot of people who were just there to use the swimming pool and have a cup of coffee. Not really many people then transitioned into actually going to the gym. And I very sort of quickly, not necessarily just myself, but like just from hearing from the other guys, and just even people that then worked on the spa desk, is they were like, it's hard to be successful. It's hard to get full time here. So, but then I'm also like, oh yeah, but you, oh, like I will. And that I was like, no, maybe I'm not kind of thing. Cause I was like, there's just not enough potential. So I then started doing a job came up. One of the guys who was a PT, he then was leaving to Barclays because he wanted a more stable kind of job. So his then sales membership job came up and was available. And he was the busiest PT at the time by like a mile. And he even told me, he said, mate, you should go for that membership job because he plays hand in hand. He said, I get the first pick of clients when people come to the spa to see the gym or see anything and they say they need a PT, you go, yeah, here's my card. Like he said, it's so easy. You're like, that's your lead generation. It's just easy. So I was like, okay, fine. And then obviously I had a salary. So then I had that sort of security blanket of having a salary and being paid by the gym, which was then actually helping my PT. But then obviously what it was doing was I was doing my 40-hour sales job, but then having to PT on top of that. So when I was getting towards like 15 hours a week, it was, and then trying to do all the content and do my Instagrams and then trying to like do my online, like giving people programs. It was a lot of work. But I had to do it. I had to.
Yeah, of course. And that experience would be valuable for you. And I suppose you had that financial safety net to pursue your PT career for longer, because
Yeah.
if you weren't getting towards being full working just PT hours in that gym, then ultimately dad's looking over the shoulder saying you could be making more if you came and worked at the accountancy firm or you'd got a job with PwC or whatever. So I guess that sales job was helpful, but also, like you say, it gave you immediate access to people and that recommendation, that friendly face. Because if they trust you enough to sign up to the spa and the gym and pay a £50 a month membership for somewhere like that, they're probably not going to quibble too much about getting a PT session with you.
Well, what's mad as well, so the top membership was like 90 quid a month. But even the cheapest was like 50, I think 60 quid. And that was like still like, it was quite restricted. But in Knutsford, so like a good area, like people did have money there. And what's mad is I'm like, if I was charging way less for PT than I do now in pure gym, in like a budget gym. So I'm like, if I went back there, I'd be laughing kind of thing. But it like, when I was there, it was, as I said, as you said, like friendly face. I think I was the main one as well who showed just interest in everyone in terms of someone as the PT. I was the one who really just wanted to just know everyone. And even like classes is the reason I used to cover classes all the time. Two reasons. One, because it got me off the spa desk, so I didn't have to be doing sales. And then the other one, because I'd get paid. It was like worked out pretty much double because I was then doing a class. So I just used to do classes all the time. And again, that was then helping my PT side of things. And it meant I was actually doing coaching and doing what I wanted to do. So, and that's the thing was kind of quickly touching on, like, I don't get why people have that sort of negative mindset towards teaching and towards classes and, oh, I don't want to teach pump, I don't want to teach spin. And it's like, just do them, just teach everything so that you're getting in front of as many people as possible, because it's only going to help you down the line.
Massive point there. And I think we've spoken of this before, and I've spoken to so many PT friends about this. It's the equivalent of me going in and getting to pitch to my ideal clients from a corporate insurance perspective. It's the equivalent of me going in and there being the financial director and the MD who I want to, like, it's a free opportunity, a free hit at it. And it's exactly the same for a PT. 15, 16, 20, however many are in your spin class, who are potential clients next week. If you consistently show up and give them a good spin class, they'll think, oh, I've got the opportunity to get one-to-one with this guy, because in this 25 minutes or 30 minutes I've done a spin class, he's brilliant. His energy, he's so knowledgeable, he's friendly. I could easily spend another couple hours a week with him and get even better results.
Yeah, exactly. It's like people seeing the value before they even bought anything.
Yeah, linked to what you do on socials as well. with all this in mind, you've got your sales job, you've got your classes that you're going in on, your PT business has probably grown a little bit through this as well, and you're getting even more experience, which at this stage is invaluable because at the moment you've done a 5-week course and you're working on how you actually help people. Where did you go to get yourself to the biggest pure gym in the UK?
So this is why the biggest reason why I will never take for granted my whole cons experience was because of everyone being a lot of the older demographic. Everyone had hip problems, everyone had shoulder problems, everyone had back problems. So in order for me to be successful, I had to know mobility, and I had to know why you needed to warm up, why you needed to cool down, and how people need to get through injury prevention and rehab and prehab. Like I had to do that. So I by doing that, I almost developed my uniqueness and my USP that of mobility and focusing on. When I first started at that place, I was so bodybuilding, as I said before, like that's all I used to train, and it was a push pull legs, like a proper. That's all I trained for. Very like sort of normal sort of bodybuilding movements. And this place again, it was a lot of older people, and that's why then this. So I'm very based towards functional performance now. Like all I care about is just being able to do cool stuff, whereas completely I used to just want aesthetics. That's all I cared about.
Yep.
But it was because an older person doesn't care. They just, or like some of them do. Yeah, okay, they want to lose weight, but they also want to make sure that they don't slip and fall down the stairs and break their shoulder. So it was a case of, right, well, we need to get you more functional so that you can be stronger and better in the outside world and replicate movement patterns in the gym to help you when we come out of the gym. So that knowledge and the experience I gained from that was absolutely, like, as I said, I wouldn't take anything from it. And they were ruthless, because older people, they tell you how they want it. So if you were rubbish, they will tell. Like the first class I ever taught, I was useless. Like the first day I walked in, like the guy was like, yeah, you're doing the functional training class. And I'm like, what the hell even is functional training? And I was awful, like awful. And they would say that was shocking. And I had to, so that was this amazing thing of people actually being brutally honest with you instead of going, yeah, no, that was great. But you need that sort of like confirmation of that was shocking, mate. So that sort of built out over, I was there for a year, just kind of building that knowledge, getting that exposure. And it got to a point where I can't remember. There was something where my manager, in terms of like the spa manager, I can't even remember, but he said something about like if I wanted to progress further than where I was, because he was like, you're so good, and I was like, I just kind of like went home that day and I was like, what are you doing? You're getting yourself in this sort of deep hole of going sales. So actually there was a period where I was like, kind of this time I was like, do I really want to be doing this? Do I want to be where I am? And I even applied, I went to Total Fitness. And again, I don't know why I was applying for a sales job and then kind of doing like the same kind of thing.
So Alex, you were going to go and potentially do a sales role at Total Fitness for their memberships with a little bit of PT on the side there?
Yeah, so PT is kind of same sort of situation, but it would just be on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And they offered me the job, and then I actually turned it down. So 2 days later after the interview, when they rang me and said, oh yeah, like, mate, that was wicked, we'd love to have you on board, I said, I'm really, really sorry, but I just don't, I'm a PT and I want to be a PT. I'm really sorry. Like, I've taken a sort of back step from it. And that kind of just kept snowballing. And it was a case of, I felt that at Cottons, I'd hit a PT limit. I took it as far as I felt I could. I didn't feel like I was ever going to be full time. My social media was growing quite, well, not steadily at all, like very, very, very gradually, because it wasn't the right audience. I wasn't in the right place for it. And I was like, I wanted to be so I lived in Manchester anyway. So I was having to go to a Knutsford, which is, it's about half an hour drive. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. But I was like, I want to be in Manchester, and I want to take that next step. And to be fair, so I used to train because of the gym where I was. It wasn't anything incredible, so I used to train at Pure Gym, just so that I could use better kit and more kit.
Yeah.
And so one of the managers that was at Urban Exchange messaged me saying on like Instagram saying, your content is wicked. I see you on the gym. Like, I've just seen as well that you're actually a PT. Like, you like come in for a chat. So I was like, this is that opportunity. So obviously went in for a chat, and then what was then so good for me is that she was then asking me questions, and I was able to like relate it to people I've had and results and journeys and all these amazing kind of stories that I could then reveal to her. And she was like, I'm not letting you walk out through this door without signing this piece of paper that you're having this job. And I remember I then walked out, and I was walking to my car, and I felt, I almost got teared, because I was like, I genuinely compared it. I was like, I've just got like the, as if a footballer. I was like, I've just landed the role at United. I was like that in my head. I was like walking back to my car, like, this is the beginning now. This is that next step. And that, especially when I then told my mum and dad that obviously she found me through Instagram, like that's how I got recruited. He was like, I can really now, that was almost like the flick of the switch of, I can now see why what you do on social media helps and works. And that's what I remember saying to them from the start. I was like, look, people will find me, I'll work with companies, and I'll have a supplement, I'll have clothing. And they were like, they didn't get it, because I don't think mums and dads do, until they sort of see it firsthand. And now they're like, what's funny is now when they like, with like Love Island or something like that, for example, they're like, oh my God, these people are nuts. And I think because I sort of gave them that exposure of, this is what's going to happen, and this is actually a world that goes on, it was like, oh no, yeah, okay, all right, like, go for it.
Yeah, there's so much to pick through there, Alex. And that moment when you're walking away from Pure, you've just signed the contract, where you're just really proud of the stage of the journey that you've got to, because you spent a lot of time cutting your teeth at Cottons. It wasn't a case of you went in there for
No.
10 minutes and you were like, I'm going to go work at Pure now. You built your way up. You got your experience. You were still consistently posting on social media. That's why the manager at Pure Gym noticed you. It wasn't a fluke. There was a lot of hard work in the background. You started to niche down and get that individuality that you bring. For anyone that's listening that doesn't follow Alex on Instagram, his content is superb, but it's also very much about how you move, how you feel, your functionality. And that's why clients go to him to move better. Inevitably, you look better off the back of that. It's not,
exactly.
It's not mutually exclusive. You aren't able to, you don't lose your hip pain but not look better. You lose your hip pain and you start to look a bit leaner and a bit more muscular as well. There's a lot more to it. And that's just a great story. And your parents kind of seeing that this potential risk that you took is starting to pay off. That must have been a really proud moment for you.
Yeah, it was like, I remember my dad giving me a big hug, and he was like, he was almost into it, and he was like, I'm so proud of you, because he was like, I could not be more happy that you went for what you wanted to do. Because he said, and he even jokes now, he was like, imagine if you would have actually been an accountant. He was like, what a stupid job that would have been for you. And it's like, yeah, but that's what I've even said to him as well, that them, by not necessarily believing me, being a little bit scared, gave me motivation. Like, I get motivated by people who don't believe me. I like it when people are like, you're out your depth, mate. That helps me. So with my mum and dad being a bit like that, and even my older sister was the same. My middle sister, still my older sister, but like my older little sister, she's always had my back. So she was like, yeah, you're going to be amazing. But like, even my older sister was saying it as well. So, but yeah, that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess when we're on the subject of a little bit of self-doubt, was that, or actual doubt potentially around you, was that the main kind of slight negativity you got? Not that your family were negative, but they were just wanting the best for you, and they knew that it was going to be difficult. Was there anything else around this time when you're making the move into PT, you're growing your one-to-one business, or you're posting on social media as well? We both know what that can be like. What were the kind of main things that were like maybe a negative influence?
I think my main YouTube, I took a really long time to start YouTube. Like I remember from when I decided I was going to do it, it took me about 10, 11 months to actually finally make the video because I was terrified. Because even when I was doing my Instagram side of things, I never really spoke to the camera much. I didn't really do much of that because I was terrified of what people would think, and terrified of what I think more like my lads back home, like back in Guernsey, what they would kind of think of it, and what people would judge from me from that. And I think that really then took not a toll, but I was just constantly, it was always in the back of my mind of like, why haven't you started YouTube yet? And I was always waiting for this perfect moment to not feel scared and not feel like worried. And as I said, like where I wasn't the right place for me to be in the gym talking to my camera. Even when I started filming and taking photos in there, all these people were like, who the hell is this guy? What is he doing? Because they're all like sort of 50, 6-year-olds, like, what the hell is this guy doing recording his workout? And no one got it. And what was funny is by the time then I was leaving, everyone knew exactly what I was doing. Everyone would follow me. Well, it was more they would subscribe to my email listing and like I'll be friends with me on Facebook, because that was a kind of like demographic they were.
Yeah.
But they would know like what I was. And it was funny because I think it was the same with mum and dad of trying to say to them like, this is what I'm going to do. When I then went into this gym, they were like, what is he doing? And then it was like, oh no, okay, actually fair play, mate, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that definitely took the social media was the biggest thing of worried about what people were going to think of me.
Yeah, I think you're always going to have people that doubt you on that. And just when you're talking about that filming in a spa gym, I was a member at Nuffield Health when I first started Instagram, and the number of times, and all the staff are lovely, PTs, reception, everyone really lovely. Always would say, "Hi, Colin, how are you?" That kind of dynamic, because that's what these spa gyms are like. Really trying to be really personable. But the number of times I'd be walking out of the gym and upstairs past reception and say, "Colin, can I have a word?" Somebody's complained that you were using your phone again in the gym, and I was like, right, okay. Was anyone in the background of any of your shots, or was anyone in the footage?
Yeah.
And I would say to them, the worst possible thing for me is for somebody else to be in the shot that I've just taken to put on Instagram, because that's not what it's a photo of me, and the photo will look the best when it's one person, one subject. And the video, I don't want people walking in front or behind the camera when I'm doing an exercise. I want to show that. So it's never going to be my intention to get people in that. And the staff are also like, no, it's okay. But like, we have had people mention that there was a young guy using his phone, and we knew it would be you. And I said, no, I understand that, but I don't want to get you in trouble. But equally, nobody was in the shot. Like, I don't want anyone in the shot, so I wouldn't use any footage or any images that where people were in the background. So I always find that quite funny from a negativity perspective. But it's great that the people at the spa eventually saw the value of what you were doing through your email list as well.
Yeah.
Big time. So I guess we're at a stage of your journey where you've made the big transfer. You've been signed by the big boys. You're at Pure Manchester Urban Exchange, the mothership of Pure Gym, as you've told me.
Yeah.
So what's that like then? Did you go in on a contract where you did a set number of hours and shifts? What did that look like?
Yes, obviously. Then I'm in a whole new model where I'm paying a load of rent, but then the way Pure Gym do it is you then do, at the time it's different now, but I'm on rent now, so it doesn't really matter. But like when I joined, it was 3 5-hour shifts a week, which obviously 15 hours, which then kind of added up to a month of rent. So you were pretty much working for free, but then you weren't paying rent. So it was kind of a situation where if you're not PT and you don't have money, and that was their model. And then it was a case of you slowly worked your shifts away. So obviously as you grew, as your business kept growing, you would then drop those shifts slowly off.
Did you appreciate the other gym was in Knutsford? Did you take any clients with you, or did you have to start from scratch?
No, so I had to start again as well. I think that was the scary thing for me, was that I had my comfort zone and I had a successful business there, and it was a case of I was suddenly going as well from having a wage and then having my PT on top of that to nothing.
And you've got a flat to pay for in Manchester as well.
Yeah, and it's like all of that, and but then that's why Cottons was amazing for me as well, because all my PT would just, I'd never touch it. So it was going into this business fund that was just going up and up and up. So then it meant when I did make that transition into urban, I did have money in the bank and cash to sort of keep me going.
Give you that opportunity to cut your teeth in
Yeah.
a new environment as well, and that kind of peace of mind at the back of your head that financially, if I don't take off like a rocket ship, at least I'm not going to be living hand to mouth in terms of paycheck to paycheck. What were those initial few months like then? How did you get on with sourcing clients?
So I was awful. So I actually, I got my first client after 5 weeks, because I was a case of, I was a big fish in a little pond. I was now little fish in a big pond. As I said, I was kind of the guy that everyone went to, even just for advice. People would come to me, and now it was a case of, and also Pure Gym's a weird place, because most gyms you go to a front desk and you get a towel or like whatever, you just sign in with someone. Pure Gym is, you come through a pod, you crack on, you go home, and you have to fully go out of your way to build relationships with people. It's not just a case of just very easy. Whereas the last place was, everyone was a family, everyone knew each other, everyone knew each other's business, everyone knew each other's brother's, sister's, dog's name. Like, whereas Pure Gym isn't like that at all. So for me, it was like this whole lead generation thing, and the whole going up to people, say on the gym floor, and trying to build relationships that way, was this whole world that I'd never been exposed to. And it was very daunting, of just like, oh, so I've got to just like go over to that person on a treadmill and speak to them, like what? Whereas before it was just like, you just spoke, it was just very natural and easy. So that's why I struggled that first for 5 weeks. And that client was actually, I only got her because she went to a manager after a spin class and said she had shoulder issues. She's a rock climber. She wants to like get more mobile in her shoulder, and then she wants to get stronger in her rock climbing. He was like, a guy's just started. I know who you need to have. And then that was what was crazy then, because I got the one, and then it was just a snowball. But my biggest thing I did in terms of, I looked at my strengths and weaknesses, and my weakness was I wasn't necessarily comfortable of just walking up to every man and his dog and telling people pull out their headphones and speak to them. So again, because of mobility, because of that side of things that I had the knowledge for and that USP, I did a knee pain workshop. So it was my second month there. Every Tuesday, Thursday for 2 hours, I did a knee workshop, and I think I got over about 30, 40 emails from that, and converted, I think I converted 2 from that. But then one person saw me on the gym floor with people doing it, saying, you seem really attentive, I'd like to come in for a chat. So I got someone through just seeing me on the gym floor, because I think that was it as well. As soon as you get 1 and 2 and 3, it just builds, and it's that snowball effect. But by doing this workshop, I was on the gym floor with people. So people were seeing what I was about and seeing my style of coaching, and how I am very hands-on and I am very involved with what the client's doing in a session. And looking from the outside, I know that comes off. And that is what happened. So it was then a case of, I think then my second month, I maybe had like 4 or 5. And then my third month was just like towards 10. And then it was just like, then the rest is kind of history.
Brilliant. And for any PTs listening, that is it's not the ideal template, but it's a really good guide to how to build up your client book, because that cold approach in the gym floor is hard. You've already spoken about how the classes are a good opportunity, but you've thought outside the box there, and you've known what your skill set is, all that experience you've got from Cotton's working with people with mobility challenges, and people that think it's just old people with mobility challenges are wrong, because I sit in an office with loads of people my age that, like, their mobility is absolutely terrible, because we sit at a desk 8 hours a day. Maybe they don't go out for a walk at lunch like I do, and they don't go and move for an hour after work. So you had a real area of value to add there, and you ran this workshop where it gave you the opportunity outside of those 15 hours where you had duties and you had the opportunity, but you now had people on the floor, and people saw, oh, who's this new bloke with such and such over there, and they're watching you. And anyone that says they do not watch how PTs are with their clients in the gym floor is a liar, because I go to lots of different gyms through work schedule, travel, and just Instagram stuff as well. And I am always PT watching, because it's just interesting to see how people are with their clients. And it's like an addition, really. Like, it's like you're auditioning for a part.
It's very easy to spot a rubbish coach. And it's very easy then to spot a good coach. And I think you don't necessarily have to know what you're doing in the gym you could be a complete gym newbie. It's not very difficult to understand who the good guys are, I don't think. It's just persona and personality, and just actually having a smile on your face and actually look like you care what the client is doing, and you're not on your phone. That is, I think that's the one thing that bugs the hell out of me, is people on their phone. I'm like, literally, I can't even get my head around it. I'm like, what? When you see someone like on their phone, and you're like, what are you texting someone for now? Like, do you just want this person to walk off? And then I don't understand why they keep going to them. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, but then that gives this bad relationship to people. Probably, well, that's just what a PT is. Just someone that, they might be on their phone.
The standard now is so much higher. I'm looking around and the standard's higher, because the guys that are out there like yourself and some of the guys that I engage with on socials all across the country, they're raising the bar. They're putting out daily content that's valuable. Fine well that if that's what you're giving for free on Instagram or YouTube, that best believe that when you're chatting to somebody one-to-one and you're putting them through that, it's a really valuable service. The bar is being raised, and the guys that are on their phone texting people or boomeranging sets, I mean, that does my head in as well. And it's just a shambles, isn't it? And they are going to be left behind. And not to timestamp the episode too much, but we're recording during this coronavirus, which is inflicting us in the 2020, and we were having a laugh before this in terms of the number of PTs that have had a bit of a wake-up call with respect to online proofing your business in some way, shape or form is invaluable. And Alex is relentlessly consistent on Instagram with his content, and it's high quality as well. So when something like this happens, of course you've already got your online coaching, but it's not a shock to the system to see you turning up on Instagram still and trying to help people, because your audience are used to that. They're used to that. And it's not a case of previously you posted once or twice a week or if that even, and it was videos of your own training. You've been posting 7 days a week for however long, with really valuable insight on how they can improve their own training, not just how much you can bench or how much you can squat. Which is crazy. I guess that kind of segues us a little bit into social media, which we'll touch on briefly in terms of how that's helped you build your online business.
Well, even so, something I should have said before as well. So with the whole scared for Instagram and scared for YouTube and stuff, when I started then at Urban, that almost started again. So I was then, but I had more confidence because I was already doing it. But I was then filming obviously myself on the gym floor again, and then now in a gym with 26 other lads, well, not just lads, but pretty much are all then like taking the piss out of me and being like, who's this? Like, who does he think he is? Like, Mr. Cameraman. And would literally take the piss. And I even got like when I film, I literally just use a tripod, so I just plonk it down in the gym and crack on. And what's really funny is so many people used to take the mick out of me, and now borderline all the PTs when they film in there have bought a big tripod, and I like they even say it like, so I'm not just saying this because I don't want to be big-headed at all, because that's not who I am, but everyone says they're like, they upped their social media game when I kind of came in, and it was like, why is this new person doing this? And was seeing the growth that then happened to me, and they were like, oh, I need to have this. Why am I not doing this? Why am I not on top of my social media game like he is? And why am I probably using the excuse like that of time, when obviously there is time? And that's boiling back to what we said with people or now that are throwing content out there, that before there was always time before, but that was always their excuse why they didn't do it.
Yep.
And it almost, that's why, yeah, it's great because people, there's so much more people adding value, but then at the same time, what I don't like is people almost using this as leverage for them, and they're almost, it's people doing it for the wrong reasons. I think is more than ever right now, because they've just got the time to do it. So
as a consumer, I would go to the person that's been doing it longer, more consistently and better than the person that's just popped up because they've been forced to do it.
Yeah, that's what you've nailed on the head there, though.
And that's where my head's at. So straight away, I'm going to go to somebody like yourself that's been putting it out there for years, and it's well crafted, it's thoughtful, and it's not a case of shit, I better sell some online coaching places now because the gyms are closed. Yeah. And everyone's got to eat, and I've got to respect the hustle, but you should have been in on this sooner, and you should have been trying to provide some value sooner on a regular basis to your audience, because even with 1,000 followers, you could have a very decent online business or a decent online backup business to your one-to-one PT if you regularly provided value to that group of people, because amongst that will be people who will want to buy your service and support you. And that's not coming from a place just because you've got a lot of followers. It's because you've given value to, and then a percentage of that number come through to converted sale.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why as well, you just see people and it's just like selling, then like we touched on this before, just selling then rubbish because they haven't put any thought to, like when I first started doing online coaching, it was shocking. It was horrendous. And I think then that's the sort of level people are starting at, is I need to do online coaching because I need money, and they're providing rubbish. Whereas I've then spent the whole time I've been a PT, I've spent the whole time for perfecting my online and getting that to the level it is now, and having the right services and the right sort of the right plans and the right sort of the way to sell it and the way for people to have it in ease. And before, as we said before, it's just like they're giving someone a boring spreadsheet that's just like, yeah, go on, crack on, mate, do what you like. People look at it and they're like, what the hell am I even looking at, for starters? And that's the kind of level that people are at now. And as you said, the people that then be doing it for longer, and that, okay, yes, we might not now have the gym, but there's so many other things that, okay, well, that's just one kind of stream that's gone. All right, well, now I can just focus more time on all these others. Whereas you've got people who their heads have almost fallen off a bit because, oh my God, the gym's closed. What the hell am I going to do? I need to try and react very, very quickly. And then there's no real plan, and there's no really like thought process of actually who's it for, actually providing the person who's buying it as much content as much value as possible, instead of just this crap that you're just trying to push out as quick as possible.
Huge. I mean, for me, looking from the outside in, that's exactly what's happening now. There's a huge difference between running these Zoom classes, which people are doing, and they are brilliant, where people are paying a small fee. You get a one-to-one session, or not a one-to-one, you get a kind of class with an instructor, and that's brilliant. But then you've got other guys that are just throwing together, like you say, an Excel spreadsheet, maybe a Word document meal plan, and saying, yeah, I'm an online coach now. And that's how it starts. I appreciate that. But because there's so many developed online coaches out there already, that's when you, like, as a client, you need to be having a look around and thinking, for similar money, or even maybe just a little bit more, I could be getting some real value during this challenging period when training's maybe not optimal, but we can still continue our progress from a training, a mobility, a functional, and an aesthetic perspective. And
do you follow Phil Graham? No, it wasn't Phil Graham. It was, oh crap, I can't remember which one it is. There's loads of the PT mentors. Do you follow them all?
So I follow Phil Graham and I follow Mark Coles. They're the kind of main two that I've seen.
Who's the other one? No, it's I think, I can't remember now. But one of them basically said the other day, he said, like, your clients right now don't want an 8-pack and like these visible abs. Your clients need your help more than ever right now. Go serve them. And I think that's the big thing, is that when we touched on before about the guys that aren't necessarily doing as much, and periods like this might show and might push them out the door a bit and might kind of leave way for then the good guys to come flying through. And I think that kind of thing just shows it, is that no one wants now how to get abs in 8 weeks. So all the crap that's in the industry might now start fizzling out of it, because people are trying to wade through the rubbish and be like, I need the good stuff, and I need the stuff that is going to help me and help me get through this period, not just here's a 8-week ab program that's not even going to get me ripped kind of thing.
Absolutely. I think with that in mind then, and as somebody that's done it themselves, what advice would you give to some of these PTs at the moment that are potentially trying to transition online? Like, appreciate we've just slagged off the fact that they just throw together a spreadsheet and a Word document and they're now jumping on Instagram, but what kind of content should they be putting out there? What should they be thinking about, Alex?
I think like the biggest thing is having a sort of structure to what they're actually doing, instead of just pumping out everything, trying to just follow what then other people are doing. One, like, look at yourself and be like, right, what can I do that's different? But that doesn't mean you have to do a backflip and a banded curl and a kettlebell headstand. Like, you just have to just be a little bit unique and almost get your personality across, and not just be like everyone else. And look at then a plan, look at, right, how can I actually plan my structure, plan my content, and have a proper structure that's not just a case of just pumping out rubbish that comes across. It's no one, and that's why I think for me, like, I'm glad I do have the mobility and that side of things that I focus so much more on, because I'm not just throwing out workout after workout after workout after workout, and I try and mix it up constantly so that it's not just the same thing. And then also in terms of a programming, in terms of what to sell your clients, I would always say these days there's so many easy coaching apps that people can jump on. So like My PT Hub and True Coach are probably the two biggest ones I can think of, that I would say for anyone that's trying to now be like, well, I need to be an online coach and I'm going to make that jump. Use one of those platforms that is going to enable you to give a client a really, really good program and structure in place that's easier for them to stick to, instead of you just selling them a bit of rubbish. Like we spoke about, there's some guys like that I know for a fact, okay, yeah, they do Google Sheets and stuff, but it is to an unbelievable T, and it's amazing. And they have, as we said before, like video calls, and they have so much more that in place, and they talk about everything so the client knows exactly what is going on. Whereas you flip that and it's just someone just firing something at them that's no use to anyone. So to make almost the coach's job as easy as possible, I would say sign up to one of these apps that then when they give someone a program, at least when they see a program, they can click on an exercise tutorial, know what it is, track their weights, instead of, because they probably haven't mastered that online communication. And I think that's where, when I first started, I struggled to keep my online clients accountable, because you're not with them. It's a lot harder. Like I probably speak to my online quite well, not anymore. It's now just as much. But when I was on the gym floor, I would speak to probably my one-to-one more on a text basis than I would my one-to-one clients, because you have to be in constant contact with them to make sure things are going okay. And that's obviously probably the area that people aren't doing at the moment. They're just giving people programs and firing out stuff and being now an online client, but it's like, sorry, an online client, being an online coach, but they're actually not being a coach. They're just being someone that's firing out programs willy-nilly.
Yeah, I think for any PTs listening, that was a really valuable segment and some really valuable advice from somebody that has built a business very quickly and successfully with the right foundations. And even for people who work in corporate jobs like myself, the principles there are really sound in that the service you're providing and the value behind it that you give will ultimately pay off. So that investment that Alex is recommending PTs make in some software, that's the same as if you are working insurance like myself, or you work in accountancy. It's about the fundamentals of what's behind. It's not just a case of putting out a product, because ultimately people nowadays have the opportunity to compare things more than ever before. You can put things side by side and you can see what one thing looks like and what another looks like. And at the moment, if you're not putting out a service that's really of a high level, it's going to get compared to somebody else, and your clients will not be with you for much longer. Really valuable, Alex. And I think to kind of close us off, one of the things I wanted to ask you, what are the aims now? You've grown this one-to-one business to a great extent. You've got a great online platform through your Instagram. You've got a large book of online clients, but where do you go from here? Because I know that you can probably hit capacity in terms of numbers and a waiting list.
Yeah, so weirdly, I'd had a little bit of not a lull necessarily, but after Christmas and my one-to-one dipped off a little bit, and I almost let it kind of happen to a point where I was like, you know what, I can then try and then build my online a little bit more. And then I kind of was like, actually, no, I quite like doing one-to-one. So I was kind of in this, and then very quickly it was like, right, okay, let's get one-to-one clients. And it was like, I put out a kind of thing of, right, who wants kind of PT, Pure Gym, Urban Exchange, whatever, and like did it. And all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, I've hit capacity again. So it was very then easy to be like all of a sudden full again with one-to-one. And I even remember saying to Sarah, like, I've got to be careful here, because I'm going to shoot myself in the foot and be at a point where I'm doing too much and I'm not able to focus on my online, as that is probably more where I want to kind of really sort of transition through now. And I don't think I'd want to, I don't think I'd want to stop one-to-one PTing. It's what I love. Like, I love the interaction with the client and that face-to-face, and to not be coaching on a face-to-face basis, even if that's in a class or anything like that, I think I'd really miss it. Because that's probably the area of my job I love more than anything, is being on the gym floor with someone.
Brilliant.
But what I would want to do is do a lot less hours. So probably look at maybe doing a sort of 6, 7, 8 in the morning session. That's it. And maybe Monday, Friday, but maybe Monday, Thursday, and start charging a little bit more, and maybe only having a handful of clients, but a handful of clients who you see 3-4 times a week, and then just charging them a little bit higher price. Well, not even a little bit, but like a higher price that kind of makes me earn obviously similar amount of money, but for way less time, that then I can push towards my online. So my girlfriend and I have, well, I say build-in, it's literally, it could be coming live this week.
Primed and ready. It's primed and ready.
Yeah, because as bad as it sounds, like, we're like, this is the right time to get this kind of platform out, because people need help more than ever right now. And people, as we've just said, people need something that's not just rubbish. So we've built like a home series on it. It's got 400 exercise tutorials of me explaining everything. And that's something I never liked before, is that things like my PT coach and True Coaches, you're watching someone else do an exercise tutorial. I want it to be me. I want people to feel like, so we've called it My Pocket PT. How we got that name registered, I've got no idea. Like, I would have thought that would have been gone in an instant.
Yeah.
Because that's how I wanted to market it, of people never feeling like they're alone on the gym floor. And if they don't know something, they get it out of their pocket and they know it. And then it's actually me, instead of just on all these apps, it's just a video of someone, say, doing a shoulder press. Whereas it's me saying, do this with your core, put this as your, so it's actually little coaching cues. And so it was like, right, I was always trying to think, right, I need to dedicate more time to this. And so a big positive that's come out of Corona, and obviously now being the gym shut, is I've dedicated the whole of ever since lockdown to it. And it's now in a case where we can probably, so we're going to release it first to my current clients and friends and family for a bit of beta testing to see how things go. Hopefully not too long of a test, but what will be, and then release it actually to the market. And I think that was even more, I've just been so wanting to get it to my clients to make sure they've got as much help as possible. Because as I said, the more like the at home series is the way we've like called it on the app and things, it will be so helpful for my clients. And that's the main reason I want to get it out now, because I want to help them in this current period. I've obviously given them things and assigned them things on my PT Hub, and signed them lots of, and constantly doing, like I do Zoom one-to-ones and group Zooms with them, but it's really having a good sort of structure in place for them. So it'll just be a case of seeing what happens with that as then we come out of all of this and then come transition back onto the gym floor. It will really be a case of probably not really looking at taking any more one-to-one clients on, really pushing this app and just watching it grow and building up the member base, and then slowly lend that one-to-one, just let it get less and less. But as I said, I wouldn't want to stop it, but at the same time, I would, if the app's in a position where I don't have to be on the gym floor anymore, and the app's doing what it's doing and probably giving me a lot more time freedom of life and even more financial freedom to kind of do what I want and where I want to go, it probably will only go one way. But I know for a fact I would miss it, and I wouldn't, it wouldn't be a decision that I just go, I wouldn't be happy to be leaving the gym floor. It would be more, this is the next step I need to take for the sort of growth of my business. Yeah, so as I say, it will kind of be what will be. But
that completely answers my question. I think, again, so much to kind of pull out of each section there. And again, that passion that you have for helping people one-to-one is there. The passion that you have to provide an excellent service for the people that are using an app, and that personal video service that's involved within that, where you give them tutorials and cues rather than, you say, just an exercise demonstration video. That all underlines why your brand continues to grow and the clients continue to come but also stay, because retention's more important than acquiring new ones as well, because the cost to acquire a new client is always larger. And I guess for anyone listening from a PT perspective, seriously invaluable, but even from any other business perspective, you've got one-to-one, which is scalable only up to the number of hours that you can do. You've got online, which is scalable, but only up to the number of check-ins that you can handle per week and still provide the service.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is where the app comes in, where you can potentially reach and help even more people. It could be an entry-level product in terms of cost for somebody who wants to work with Alex for the first time, but it could also be a drop-down product from somebody that's worked with you for a number of years, but financially they want to drop back to another model, or they don't feel they don't have such a serious goal at the moment, so they drop down another level. And from a business perspective, and as a businessman, you are now covering more bases to make sure that you can reach as many people, but also from a financial perspective, you've got lots of different options for your client base as well. And yeah, just a really interesting conversation, a really interesting insight into how you've gone from dropping out of a kind of a job that dad would be keen for you to go for, all the way to having one of the fastest growing PT businesses in the UK, really.
Oh God, don't say that.
There we go, mate. There we go. I'll cut that out, Alex. Brilliant.
Funny though, I found a Facebook status when I left Cottons. I was like, the other day I found it on my camera roll that I'd screenshotted. So it was on the 18th of October 2018, and it said like, oh, the last year at Cottons has been amazing. It's time to do this, and I won't take anything for granted for the year. And then the end thing said, it's now time to take over Manchester. And I read it like yesterday or something, and I was like, shit. I was like, I'm gonna make one soon. That's like, it's now time to take over like the UK.
Yeah, but that's where it comes from. Like you've had a plan. I appreciate you didn't have a plan when you decided to go traveling and whatnot, but you came back and you had an action plan and you implemented it. So I think we have answered that question that we set out at the start. Should you quit your day job to work in fitness? And it's not just clickbait. There's a lot more to it, because you didn't just up tools and leave. You actually made a conscious decision. There was a plan behind it. There was a lot of hard work. And yeah, I think that's been a really valuable episode for anyone listening, from a business perspective, from a corporate working perspective like myself, but also from a PT perspective. And for those that don't already follow you, Alex, where's the best place for them to find you?
Mainly obviously like my Instagram. So I'm Alex Fit Cleland, but just everywhere. So that's kind of on my podcast. That's what it's called. Well, podcast is Alex Fit Podcast, but pretty much Alex Fit Cleland on everywhere. So Instagram, YouTube, Twitter I do, but whatever. Even TikTok, I suppose. Need to plug that.
Is that coming there as well? You're on TikTok. I haven't seen your TikTok.
On TikTok. I'm like, I go through little stages where I'll do like sort of 3 days and try and like pump out content. And if I'm brutally honest, I then forget. So I forget that TikTok's even alive. And I'll find like, even sometimes I scroll through TikTok and then I'll make like 3 posts that day and post them. But then I come off the app and forget it's even existed. Yeah. I think as well, like I'm looking at where I am and what, obviously my Instagram is the thing that's growing more than anything else. I'm like, just keep your attention, keep your main focus on Instagram, and kind of like, I know I should be doing TikTok more. And we've spoken about it as well, like LinkedIn. That was a big one that I still, even after you said about how I should be doing them, it's a really, really good platform to be using. I still haven't maximized that.
I think you could be great on there. Yeah, I'll tag all those links in the show notes below. Alex, thanks so much for coming on, and everyone that's listened this far, please share it in your Instagram story, tag Alex, tag myself. We'd love any feedback you've got, any questions. I'm more than happy to get involved, and I'll be back next week to speak to you then. Thank you.